Hello and welcome to today's webinar, How to Improve Help Desk Satisfaction with SolarWinds Web Help Desk. Today's event is brought to you by SolarWinds and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is David Davis and I'm excited to be your moderator for today's event. Now, before I introduce you to today's expert presenters, first I want to remind you that we have a number of handouts available for your consumption. Those are in the GoToWebinar control panel there. There are 5 different handouts, some really excellent resources that you need to make sure that you download before the event's over, because after the event, they won't be easily accessible. We've got handouts there. I see 2 ways to run a help desk, the service desk data sheet, understanding new help desk solutions, the web help desk data sheet, and then how to work smarter solutions for SMB. So make sure you grab those handouts now. We also want this to be an educational event, so we encourage your questions there in the GoToWebinar control panel. Ask your questions. We'll be doing our best to answer those throughout the event, and then we'll have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of today's presentation and live demo. And then finally, we have an Amazon $300 gift card to give away at the end of today's webinar. The requirement to be eligible for the prize drawing is, first off, you must be present on the live event. If you're watching this event on demand, I'm sorry, the drawing has already occurred. The full prize terms and conditions can be found at events.actualtechmedia.com. And with that, I'm excited to introduce you to today's presenters. They are Mr. Doug Tedder, Principal Consultant at Tedder Consulting, and Carla Palma, Product Marketing at SolarWinds. Doug and Carla, thank you for being on the event today.
Thanks, David. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah. Thanks for being on, Carla.
Thanks, David.
Pleasure to be here. Great to be able to spend a little bit of time with everyone today.
Excellent, excellent. Well, before I hand it over to Carla, who will be presenting first, we've first got a couple of poll questions for you out there in the audience. So let me bring up that first poll question now. And that is, do you currently own a SolarWinds product? So the poll question is coming up here on the screen. It's a simple yes or no question. If you own a SolarWinds product, yes, I'm a current customer, or no, I'm new to SolarWinds, or would like to learn more about it. So go ahead and answer that poll question. We appreciate those responses. I see lots of great comments coming in. Welcome, Gonzalo from Las Vegas, Ross, Mike. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Appreciate the comments. Keep the questions coming throughout the webinar. And it looks like everyone's answered the poll. Let me go ahead and close that. And then we've got one more poll before we kick off today's first presentation. And that is, what topics are you most, or what other topics are you most interested in? So outside of help desk, we're just curious, in the future, what else would you like to learn about? Are you interested in other SolarWinds software for small businesses, learning about the THWAC community that SolarWinds offers as an excellent community and learning tool, and also the SolarWinds Academy? All right, thank you everyone who's responding to that poll. All right, excellent. Thank you so much for your responses to that poll. We do appreciate it. And with that, I'm excited to hand it over to our first presenter. Carla, I'm going to change presenter to you.
Fantastic.
And I see your screen. Take it away.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for the introduction, David. We appreciate being with you here today. I just want to tell you guys a little bit about how we actually came up with this topic. As David mentioned, SolarWinds has a very robust community, and I'm hoping that some of you guys are actually already a part of that community. We've got over 150,000 IT pros that are part of this community, and a little while back, we went into our community and we polled them to understand, what are your goals for the new year? And one of the things that kept coming up in that poll was, improving end user satisfaction scores. So today what we want to focus on is we want to show you a little bit about how one of our small business tools, Web Help Desk, can help with those scores. So for our agenda today, here's what we have. We got about 30 minutes today. I want to tell you a little bit about Doug Tedder, who's going to be joining me, a little bit about myself, some of the unique challenges that we know that small and medium businesses are having. Help Desk really is one of the tools that we feel can honestly pay for itself in the short run. And then I'm going to do a very brief demo of SolarWinds Web Help Desk. And what you don't see here is we threw in a little bit about SolarWinds Service Desk, which we recently introduced, and we just want to tell you a little bit about that. We'll finish it up with some Q&A and answer any questions that you might have as we go through the session today. So first, I want to introduce Doug Tedder. Doug, are you on the line?
I am.
Fantastic. You know, I've had the pleasure of working with Doug. Doug, I want to say for the past 2 years. And one of the great things about Doug is he just brings such great insight on just some of the great practices that should be in play. He's an expert in ITSM and IT governance consulting. So that's another thing that we really love about Doug. But he's just a wealth of information. So I'm really excited to have him here with us. Welcome, Doug.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me join, Carla.
Fantastic. And my name's Carla Palma. I lead the product marketing tools portfolio over at SolarWinds. And really, I focus on small businesses, and I love understanding how well, first of all, I love understanding what are those customer pain points, and then how can we help solve them, if at all. In some cases, we may not have the right tool for you, and we may tell you, there are other tools out there that can help you better. But in this particular case, we want to understand what are your pain points and can we help? So I'm really passionate about that, as you can tell. The other thing that I'm very, very passionate about is I put in that fancy title there, which, to be honest with you, I don't even think I can pronounce that correctly. The Canis lupus familiaris. I'm going to go with that. And I am an absolute dog lover, hoping that you guys out there are too.
What kind of dog do you have, Carla?
Oh gosh, don't make me get into this, Doug. I have the best dogs of all time, and I know there's going to be a lot of controversy when I say this, but I have little Chihuahuas. So I have 2 little Chihuahuas that run around here and just make my life a lot better, especially now that, we're working from home. So,
Yeah,
all right.
I'm a dog lover too. That's why I asked. I have a boxer, so.
Love it, love it. Well, Chihuahuas. I'm still gonna go with the Chihuahuas trumping that boxer, Doug. So I'm just gonna have to go with that for now. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and get started. Many of you are already familiar with SolarWinds, but if you're not, SolarWinds has been around for about 20 years. We were actually founded by an IT pro. And really what I want you to take away is that regardless whether you buy a $300 license from our tools portfolio or you buy a full Orion suite, SolarWinds really takes pride in understanding the challenges that IT professionals have, and we aim to build solutions that are simple, easy to use, and at the end of the day, solve those problems that you have the way that you want them solved. So with that being said, I do want to touch on this because I think it's one of the most important things that we as SolarWinds offer our customers, and that is our renewal program. When you buy, again, any license from us, the renewal program benefits are a part of that license. And I really wanted to touch on 2 things. I know that you see a lot of bullet points on that slide, but there's 2 key things that are really important for customers, in my opinion. And one of those is being able to have access 24/7 to technical support. So again, every license that any customer buys has 24/7 access, and that's live support. So you actually get to chat with someone, but if you prefer not to, you can always email them. They'll also be available to you. The second thing that I think is really fabulous about this renewal program is that we offer a SolarWinds Academy. And what that means is when you buy a product, you know, there are resources available in the SolarWinds Academy to help guide you, to get you up to speed on the product. And if you want, actually learn about other products by taking either a live class or an on-demand class, which honestly I think is fabulous. We have some instructors that are available during office hours. So let's say you have a specific question about your specific environment, and you want to ask how your particular product can help solve that. They also have those hours available. So I can't tell you enough. This is part of when you buy a license, you get it, free for the first year. It's included. But I think it's something very valuable because we see a lot of other organizations charging for these things, and we think it should be part of what you receive when you buy a license. So with that being said, let's jump into it, Doug, because I know that we want to chat a little bit about, what considerations should you have as a small business when you are trying to improve your help desk satisfaction. And I know, Doug, you and I have talked about these a lot in the past, and I know that we've come to the conclusion that there are really these 5 key factors that really play into what small businesses need to be aware of. So I know the first one, I know you're very passionate about this, is really the need to work smarter. What do you mean by that, Doug?
Well, by the nature of a small business, if it's a small business, it's very likely that it's a smaller IT organization. It's a couple of 3 resources, maybe 3 or 4 or 5, and that team is wearing a lot of hats. Maybe one minute you're working on the network, maybe another minute you're actually doing something on the server room, and next time, an hour later, you're out desk side with an end user providing hands-on kind of support. And it's very important that, especially with any IT team, but especially with the small business IT team, that you're able to work smarter. You're not duplicating your efforts. You look like a coordinated team. You act like a coordinated team. You share your knowledge. There's good communication, good awareness. Because simply put, you just don't have time to redo work, and the last thing you want to do is go back and redo something that one of your colleagues has already done. So, like you said, Carla, I feel really strongly about this one. This is one of the things that I think this has to be a given with a small business IT team. Is you've got to work much smarter.
Yeah, absolutely agree, Doug. Yeah, I think that the second thing is we all know that a lot of organizations have pretty small IT teams that need to cover a lot of, I guess I should say, they need to wear a lot of hats, a lot of different hats, right? So speaking to what you said, that one minute they're focusing on network issues, the next thing they're helping an end user with an issue. So definitely taking into consideration that maximizing your team is and should be one of your priorities. I think the next thing that we've talked about really is affordability of what you are buying for your organization. What we've come across and what I've come across in chatting with a lot of customers is that sometimes they end up buying solutions that are just too much for them. And what I mean by that is they end up paying too much for solutions that are too robust, right? Um, there are some great products out there, but I think that at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're vetting the products that you're purchasing, that they're going to be solving the issue that you have without having to invest a ton of time in them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Carla. To your point, there's a plethora of tools out there, and you can spend as much as you want to on it. But the analogy I like to use with my clients is, do you need a tractor trailer or do you just need a pickup truck? Obviously, with the tractor trailer, you have a much more capacity. You have a lot more things that you can haul. It's designed for a different purpose. Maybe the pickup truck is just fine for your organization. It still gets you from point A to point B, It still carries a payload. It still does a lot of the things that a tractor trailer truck can do, but maybe you don't need the tractor trailer truck. So get the solution that fits and works for you. I think that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah, and I think that plays into having products that are easy to use. I can't tell you how many times that I've actually chatted with folks and they end up purchasing these solutions. And I guess, like you're saying, I like to use I like to use the Ferrari analogy, Doug. So excuse me. So they purchase these Ferraris that are fantastic, but that do require a lot of investment in time and installation and all of these other things that go along with these types of solutions. So from my perspective, I think for small business specifically, you need to ensure that the software that you're purchasing, the solutions that you're buying really are easy to use, and that they don't require a lot of investment. The last thing I know that we've been chatting about is small business and security, which I think has as of lately even been much more of a hot topic.
Yeah, security is always a concern. I don't, it really doesn't matter if you're a large organization, smaller organization, or somewhere in between. In this day of an age of always on, always connected, it's just imperative that you have a good security posture. You're not giving away or exposing data that is sensitive, that is perhaps proprietary to your organization. And especially at the help desk, it can be a little tricky sometimes, because when we're helping some of our end users, they are working on perhaps some of the proprietary information in an organization. You just can't let that slip out the door. There could be significant repercussions, especially in a small business scenario.
Absolutely agreed. Well, let's move on. I wanted to share some of the feedback that we really get from our customers, and again, some of the pain points that we keep hearing. And ultimately, we know that not having a solution in place to help manage can just make it a lot harder. But really, some of the things that we hear from our T pros that don't have a solution installed right now is that a lot of them are tending to be overwhelmed, not only with, requests from end users, but maybe some of the alerting coming from their networks. And what we tend to hear is that this can quickly become a challenge because, again, there is no, if they're not using any type of solution, there just is no way to prioritize, right? How are you keeping track and prioritizing um, your requests? What's more important? Who started first? I recently was chatting with a new customer, and Doug, maybe you can chime in here with some of the things you've experienced. But I was recently chatting with a customer, and they were still using Excel to track requests, and that in itself, I feel just could be hard to keep up with.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a good news, bad news kind of situation, right? I've encountered clients similar. They're using Excel or trying to track things through email or a whiteboard, and all that's well and good. So the good news part is it's been written down. We know we've got some work to do. We know that we have an end user that is having some difficulty or has some need for an IT resource. But the bad news is, unless you are right in front of that Excel spreadsheet or happen to be reading email, and you know where is it? Who's working on it? What's the status of the situation? Are we waiting on parts? Are we waiting on support from a vendor? Are we on our way to see the end user? There's a number of things. So it's just one of those situations where it just doesn't quite get you where you need to be, especially as that small business IT professional.
Yeah, and I think this is where it plays in that having a solution in place just really makes it that much easier to keep your end users happy because you are able to provide them a status on their request. They know that, quote unquote, someone's working on their request. And I think that by having a solution in place that they're able to track their requests through, they're able to see that, yes, I'm being heard, and someone's working on my issue.
Yeah, you can't. I think you can't overstate the value of that, Carla. It's, to the point. We're wearing multiple hats in the IT organization, and if I started a call and I'm waiting for some kind of recovery or some other little process to run, and I go off to do something else, and the end user calls back, one of the worst things that an end user wants to go through is repeat themselves all over again, right? They don't want to talk
Right.
about the thing they just described to Joe or Sue or Bill just an hour before when they were on the phone with you. That just drives frustration. So having the central place to have all of this stuff written down and understanding the status of certain requests or activities is just key for driving end user satisfaction with what we're doing from a help desk perspective.
Yep, I 100% agree with you there. Oops, kind of went back there. Well, and so what we want to talk through is essentially this help desk. How can help desk software help you achieve some of your goals, which we know one of the goals is increasing that end user satisfaction. And what we do know is that, one, introducing, I mentioned earlier that I see folks, still using Excel sheets. But the other thing that we also see in small business is we see multiple pieces of software to do to do things that one piece of software can ultimately do. And what I mean by that is, as you introduce additional pieces of software, they all require, and I think, Doug, you like to use this a lot, the care and feeding, right? You can't just
Yes.
introduce a piece of software and leave it off to the side. So one of the things that we like to emphasize is ensuring that your help desk software can provide a variety of capabilities for you. IT ticketing, change management. How many things can you get this piece of software to do, regardless of whether it's a SolarWinds product or not? The idea is to be as efficient as possible. I always say that the most valuable the most valuable resource that our IT pros have is their time. So at the end of the day, the easier and more streamlined they can make things, I think the better, not only for them, but again, for all of those end users that really depend on them. Um, Again, I mentioned it, tracking your asset inventory. And the other thing I want to quickly touch on here, because again, as you can see, I'm very passionate about certain things, is the reporting capabilities. Doug, one of the things that I often hear from our folks when they don't have some sort of way to track all of the work that they're doing is that nobody knows how much time they're spending on a particular ticket or on a particular issue, right? So if you are tracking items through email or through, Excel, yes, you know that you've just spent 4 hours trying to, get the network back up and running, but does anybody else know that that's where the time was spent?
Yeah, that's a great point, Carla. I tell my clients, if you don't tell your story, someone else will, and you may not like what they have to say. And
Right.
if you don't have this place where you can measure and report the work that you're doing, it's really hard to tell folks, illustrate the demand that is made on the IT, where you're spending your time. If you do need to justify headcount, how can you justify it if you're not keeping track of it in a place that's reliable and has data integrity, and I have some confidence in the data that I'm seeing if I'm not using something like a help desk to track my stuff. I tell people, take credit for the work that you're doing. And yeah, it takes a couple of seconds, maybe a minute to log something in a tool so you can do that. But the benefits then is I have measurability. I can provide visibility. I know where my issues are, and I'm able to track how I'm doing my work, where I'm having some challenges, and ultimately it gives me a way to kind of illustrate the demand that's being placed on our IT teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the, I mean, Everybody knows our IT folks are unsung heroes, but to your point, Doug, I think that if our, management doesn't understand where that time is being spent, then everything kind of remains status quo and we can't add that additional headcount, or we can't help manage expectations of what can be done within the hours of the day, though I know our IT pros probably are on call a lot more than regular hours of the day. So well, this next slide is essentially just to show off a little bit. We have won a ton of awards, and as you can see from this wonderful beauty shot of Web Help Desk, which we'll talk a little bit more about, we have been noted in the past as a Customer Choice Award for Gartner Peer Insights, which has been great. You can read a lot of the reviews on Web Help Desk and understand why customers really like this tool. A little bit specifically here, I'm going to go into a little bit more about Web Help Desk. And what you're seeing to the right is essentially our dashboard. And as you can see, it just gives you a real easy way to have visibility into all of your tickets and all of your alerts and what is coming in. If any of you out there already use the Orion platform, Web Help Desk has the ability to actually integrate with Orion. It has the ability to assign tickets automatically. It can help escalate those tickets to the right folks and alert whoever the right technician is to take care of that. And ultimately, what it really helps you do is track that ticket to resolution. And ultimately be able to report on all of this work that you are doing. So with that being said, what I'd like to do is quickly jump into a demo, and let me see here. Let me see if this is going to work for me. All right, I'm hoping everybody can still see my screen.
Looks good, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So one of the things before I start, I'm going to do a very high level overview, but because of our time today, but what I do want to point out is if any of you, as we go through this demo, want to go ahead and play around with it yourself, go to webhelpdesk.com, and under resources, you will see the demo that is live there. You'll see both the end user demo and the tech demo. You don't need to log in. You don't need to put in any information. But what I like to encourage people to do is really go there and just kick the tires around on this thing and understand all of the different capabilities from, again, an end user perspective and then from a tech perspective. So what you're seeing here is what your end user sees when they submit a request. So Web Help Desk is web-based, so they can either go here to submit their request, or they can email, or they can obviously also stop by your desk and you can create this ticket, but we're hoping that they will self-serve and take advantage of this. What you're able to do here on this home page is actually customize this. So if you want to put your logo, change the colors around, you do have that option. I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like here. And when you come to this page, this is the first thing that your end users will see. And these are all customizable. So depending on your organization, you are able to create all of these different workflows that will be assigned to that particular point person in that department. So you can see we've got everything from a facilities request, finance request. We get a lot of folks that use Web Help Desk for HR. So for everything from onboarding a new employee, to communicating just internal, I'm going to say HRE things that only they should see. So for example, if someone comes in and has an IT request, they would click there. And of course, let's try that again because it looks like it's kicked me out. All right, let's go here. Okay. Okay, so if they have an IT request, as you can see, really simple. All of these fields are customizable, so you can see they can go ahead and include what type of request it is. It'll ask them the questions. Do they want to CC anybody? Is there anything that they need to attach? What location? Maybe you have multiple locations. What particular room? So the idea here is to try and capture as much information as that IT pro at the end that's going to be addressing this ticket will need to have. And then of course they save, and then they will get on their end a confirmation that this has been approved. I'm sorry, not approved, received. If you go over to the tech demo, I wanted to show you what the background looks like. So here is that dashboard that you saw earlier. And so this is fantastic just from the perspective that it gives you an overall idea of where everything is. So it gives you an idea of where tickets are from an alert perspective, by tech group, who is managing what. You also have ticket status. How many tickets are still open or pending? And then of course, by location, if you have multiple locations, is there a reason that, we are getting more tickets coming through from a particular location and what that actually looks like. Also at the end, it'll give you here tickets by priority, and you can customize this dash. So if you go over here to My Tickets, it'll allow you the opportunity to kind of see those tickets in detail. So you can see them here. You can see what type of request it is, the details. And one of the things that we talked about earlier, Doug, you mentioned this, is folks don't want to be repeating, what they talked to the last person that was working with them on a ticket if it needs to be transferred out. So this allows everybody to include their latest notes, attach any screenshots that they might have taken, or possibly a chat log to provide that next technician with all of the information needed to help solve this. Of course, you can see status, priority, and then if there is a need to escalate this, then there's also the opportunity to do that. I will touch very briefly here. This allows you a overview of things that are due and when they were promised to specific clients. If you need to search for a client, then this will give you the opportunity to search for a ticket. Maybe you're looking for a particular ticket and that was closed in the past. You want to do a basic search, you can come here and this will help you find that. And here essentially is our asset management. So again, it allows you to keep track of assets, include a new asset here, do a basic search on asset, and really understand not only what the status of that asset is, but in case you need to understand warranty information, it'll also allow you to do that. The other thing that I just want to touch on here is the opportunity, let's see if this comes up, the opportunity to have your own knowledge base and add to this as you see questions coming through. So that's another important part. So at the end of the day, if we can get our end users to self-serve as much as possible with questions that maybe you have possibly answered a couple of times in the past, we can use that to find those here. And we talked about reports. So as you can see, our reports tab is quite robust, and it allows you to generate a variety of reports that you can actually customize. So if you need a report by problem type, if you need to understand, how many actual tickets were closed this month, and let me see, there we go. So here you can actually filter by a specific tech if you want to see what a specific tech was doing, by priority, how many of what kind of category the ticket was and the priority level. So the reporting function is really quite robust, and it will also allow you to not only run these reports, but schedule them if you want to receive them on a regular basis. Now, I am going to leave this demo here. And again, if you want to just play with it and it's fully interactive, as you can see, go ahead and head over to webhelpdesk.com. And again, under resources, you'll see that the demos are laid out and you can go ahead and run through those. All right, so let me head back here. The last thing that we wanted to touch on is, I know many of you may have heard of the introduction of SolarWinds Service Desk. And essentially, we're really excited about Service Desk just because of the performance capabilities that it has and what it can actually help do within your organization. Now, Doug, I know you've seen some organizations really use their service desk, whatever there might be, in order to streamline their organization.
Yeah, the service desk, and there's a lot of, I guess, a lot of folks will interchange the term service desk and help desk as being one and the same. From a base functionality perspective, they truly are. But the way I like to think about a service desk, it's really a help desk that has some enhanced tools and capabilities to really drive back toward the actual service that we're delivering to our organization. When you think about a help desk, it's very IT oriented, as it well should be. We're dealing with end user requests, end user incidents, and those kind of things. A service desk takes all of those things and kind of goes up to maybe another level, if you will, and introduces things like a service catalog and maybe a user portal and maybe some other functionality to truly help the folks that are taking the calls frontline, as well as the rest of the IT organization, to enhance the level of service and capability that they're able to provide.
Yep. 100% agreed. Now, I don't want to touch too much on services, but I think it goes back to that analogy of the Ferrari, and I think that we were using the truck analogy, right? It depends on how robust of a solution you need. Here on this next slide, essentially what we wanted to just give you a quick compare of is, well, what, you might say, Carla, what's the difference between Web Help Desk and Service Desk? And I won't go through the entire list. Web Help Desk really is your basic help desk with a lot of feature functionality, but it is a basic help desk. It is deployed only on-prem, so that is one consideration. I know that a lot of small businesses are looking for an on-prem solution, so that is what Web Help Desk offers. And again, as you can see, there are a lot of the same functionality. I think that with our service desk model, which is SaaS based, it's just a lot more of a robust product. So if you want to learn more about either of this, we'll give you the opportunity to reach out, regardless of whether it's Web Help Desk or Service Desk. And our folks can tell you a lot more about what would be the right solution for your organization. And with that being said, I think we've come to the end of our time. So David, were there any questions that we can help answer?
Absolutely. Yeah, we do have some great questions here coming in from the audience. Thank you, everyone. While we do some Q&A, I'm just going to bring up our next poll question, and we'll leave that up for a moment. The question is, would you like to schedule a personalized demo? Answers are yes, you want a demo of Web Help Desk. Yes, I'd like a demo of Service Desk, or not at the moment. So let's see, first question that they were asking, this question is from James. He said, how is Web Help Desk licensed, and do you charge by the number of end users?
That's a great question. So we are licensed per named technician. So every technician would need a license, but the great part is that you can have unlimited end users supported by that technician. So we never charge for an end user. just essentially that technician license.
And I like that. You're encouraged to have more and more end users supported by the, similar number
Yep.
of technicians. So that's great because the user count can go up and down as well. Um,
Yep.
Excellent. Let's see. Well, thank you everyone who answered that poll question. Let me go ahead and bring up the next poll and we'll do another question from the audience. The question on the screen is, would you like pricing information? So we'll just leave that up. Next question. Let's see. Natasha's asking, does this integrate with any of my other SolarWinds products?
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, Web Help Desk actually does integrate with the Orion platform. So if you have MPM or NTA, SAM, it does integrate. And really the best capability is it helps manage those alerts. So again, what it will do is it will take those alerts that you may be receiving via email, and you'll still receive those alerts via email, but what it'll automatically do is create a ticket and assign that to, let's say you have a networking team that's what they focus on, then that is what they, and that's where that ticket is routed to. So yes. The other thing that I would like to note is that it also integrates with our remote support solution. So Web Help Desk integrates with Dameware Remote Support. And again, that's our on-premises remote support solution that allows you to provide folks, again, that are working remotely or outside of the office with help. So those are the two key integrations that we have for Web Help Desk.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. All right, let me close this poll and we've got a fun poll now. Let's bring up this fun poll while we do
Yes.
another question here. The question on the screen is, what's your favorite sport? NFL, MLB, NHL, MLS, NBA. If esports isn't listed and that's your favorite sport, our apologies. But one of the major league sports, go ahead and select your favorite, and I will actually share the results of this with the audience. So next question that came in here, Carla, they're asking, can different departments use Web Help Desk?
Yes. So, what I would recommend if you have different departments, what you'll need is, per se, a technician license for that particular department so that they can manage the different requests. But yes, we see a lot of folks use Web Help Desk, as you saw earlier in the demo, for HR functions. Facilities loves it. Facilities loves it because they're able to keep track of all of those facilities requests in one with one easy piece of software, and that's Web Help Desk. So yes, it can work across departments, and we definitely encourage it simply because we've seen it be so successful um, in a lot of organizations.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, let me close this poll, and I'm actually going to share the results.
NFL.
NFL was the
Yep.
big winner with
Yep.
42%,
Yep.
followed by NBA at 23%.
Yep.
So we have a lot of football fans, majority
A lot
football
of
fans in
football
the audience.
fans. Yep. Yep. Awesome. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Excellent. All right. Well, I've shared a special promotion on the screen now that says you can get a 20% discount on Web Help Desk by purchasing online. You can email sales or you can call. And I've actually pasted a special link there in the chat box in your GoToWebinar control panel where you can simply click on that and the discount code will be automatically added and applied. So make sure you check that out because after the event ends here, it won't be, you'll have to manually type in that code. So make sure that you type that in, check it out, click on it. Carla, Doug, any final thoughts before we end today's event?
Well, I think the only thing I want to say to our IT pros is that we really understand how hard you work. And I actually just sent a note out to our IT team. We know that you guys are our heroes, and I just want to say thank you to all of you guys for everything that you do. And please feel free to reach out with any questions that you might have for us. We're happy to always help.
All right, excellent. Well, this has been a great event. I really love the live demo. Thank you for taking time to do that, Carla. I know the audience appreciates it. It's always a little risky, but the product was really demoed well. I love the user interface, lots of cool graphs and charts and everything there to dig into. Before we go, I want to announce the winner of our Amazon $300 gift card. That's going to David Long. Congratulations, David Long. We'll reach out to you to deliver your gift card. And again, don't forget to check out that link that's there in the chat box, and also the 5 handouts that are available for download there in your audience console. Carla and Doug, thank you so much for being on the event today.
Thanks,
Oh, my
David.
pleasure.
We appreciate it.
And thank you to our audience for joining today's event. Check out webhelpdesk.com and visit solarwinds.com and also the THWAC community. Have a great day. See you next time.